And Geraldo, it's interesting because here we are more than a year after the 2016 election, and Hillary Clinton is still saying there are questions about whether Donald Trump was legitimately elected. And Donald Trump, a couple of moments ago, responded. Let's hear from Hillary, and then we'll have you weigh in. Here's what she said.
I think that there are lots of questions about its legitimacy, and we don't have a method for contesting that in our system. That's why I've long advocated for an independent commission to get to the bottom of what happened.
And the president, just a moment ago, tweets, "Crooked Hillary Clinton is the worst and biggest loser of all time. She just can't stop," which is so good for the Republican Party. Hillary, get on with your life and give it another try. Although then he says give it another try in 3 years. So, Geraldo, he's not really saying move on. He's saying, come at me, bro.
Yeah, so would I if I were him. I think she'd probably be the worst candidate the Democrats could possibly muster. First of all, good morning to all of you. I'm very jealous I didn't get some of that pumpkin pie, my very favorite. And Rachel, you and I should go and picket in front of the Congressional Democratic Caucus, a Hispanic caucus. We should let them force them to open it bipartisan as it should be for these issues of mutual concern. In terms of the First Lady, the former First Lady, Secretary of State, Senator from New York, you know, I would hope, and it's very painful to watch Secretary Clinton as she sells this book, trying to rewrite history. She ran the most lackluster, low-energy campaign. It was rigged. The Democratic National Committee rigged to give her the nomination over Bernie Sanders, never giving him a real Democratic shot at it. There's so much distasteful in terms of the remnants of her campaign. I would wish that she would move on, be the emeritus person, be the noble person, once the most highly regarded woman on the planet. Let her be an example. But to run again, to think of her running again in politics after the Donna Brazile revelations, I think it would be a disaster for the Democrats. That's why the president is taunting her.
Welcome back to this special edition of Hannity. Scandals plaguing the Democrats for months. This program has been shining a light on one particularly damning scandal involving the Clintons and the very sketchy sale of Uranium One. Last night, The Hill's John Solomon released a brand new report detailing that. Now, even Democratic Senator Dianne Feinstein is seeking access to an informant who helped the FBI investigate a bribery case surrounding that Russian state energy company. But Hillary Clinton wants you to think this scandal is much to do about nothing. Take a look at this.
The Uranium One story has been debunked countless times by members of the press, by independent experts. It is nothing but a false charge that the Trump administration is trying to drum up. This is such an abuse of power, and it goes right at the rule of law. If they send a signal that we're going to be like some dictatorship, some authoritarian regime where political opponents are going to be unfairly, fraudulently investigated, that rips at the fabric of the contract we have, that we can trust our justice system.
In a radio interview early today, Hillary Clinton reiterated those comments and even called the Uranium One scandal a, quote, political stunt. Joining us now with reaction is the author of Clinton Cash from the Government Accountability Institute, Peter Schweitzer. Good evening, Peter. You know, when
hey, Judge, great to see you.
Good to see you as well. When your book first came out in 2015, you know, did you ever wonder why in 2015 there wasn't an automatic investigation, by Congress, by the FBI, by the Justice Department? And because Peter, when I read that book, we covered it here. I covered it on Justice. I mean, it was explosive. Your facts were uncontroverted. And yet Hillary Clinton says, it was a false charge. It was controverted by, press reports. I mean, what is she talking about?
Yeah, it's certainly not the way that I recall it. Look, the book came out in April of 2015. The Uranium One story we shared before the book came public with the investigative unit at the New York Times. They ran a 4,000-word front page piece confirming the findings, the hidden donations, the CFIUS approval, the Clintons' connections to this drama. And really, after the book came out, Judge, the FBI did launch an investigation. Right. And they felt there was enough compelling evidence. This has been widely reported in the Wall Street Journal and other places. They felt there was enough evidence to get the Department of Justice to grant them subpoena powers. And they were turned down by the Obama Justice Department. So, her argument that this has been debunked, it hasn't been debunked. All the debunkers do, Judge, is they change the timeline or they exclude facts and they say the fact pattern doesn't work because they've excluded certain facts. And what I've said from the beginning, you and I have talked about it, yeah. You're a seasoned prosecutor, is, look, you just need to investigate and find out what happened, and then you can figure out what crimes, if any, have been committed. And that's all we're calling for.
Peter, I have to commend you because but for you, we wouldn't know about this. And, on my show, Justice, one of the things that I did was I talked about the fact that uranium is an essential ingredient for Moly 99, which the law in this country requires that, we make in this country, that we are now shipping uranium out to other countries and then paying for it. It's an essential ingredient for nuclear medicine, for medical isotopes. It now makes sense to me that, the Russians were in such a rush to buy it. But what do you think is going to happen if this witness who was gagged, and now Dianne Feinstein wants to hear from this FBI informant and is now ungagged? What do you think we're going to hear from him?
Well, I have to say up front, I have not met him. I don't know him. But what I understand by looking at legal documents involving his case, this guy was an insider's insider. Right. He was being paid by the Russian company $50,000 a month to serve as a lobbyist. And in the legal filings, what you find is his job was to basically carry the flag for this entity in Washington, D.C. And that job included setting up meetings with high-ranking administration officials. This would have been the Obama administration, people on Capitol Hill, and other elite influence, makers. So he was working at a very, very high level. And what has leaked out seems to indicate he's got a lot of information that relates specifically to Uranium One. So it's going to be very exciting. And I think it's important to point out, Judge, also, remember, we already have a foreign government official saying that involving Uranium One, that he and his fellow government employees were extorted by the Clintons, then Senator Hillary Clinton. This comes from the Kazakh head of their atomic agency, saying that Senator Clinton refused to meet with Kazakh officials unless and until they granted uranium concessions to Frank Giustra, who ended up giving, more than $100 million to the Clinton Foundation. So we've got that testimony. We've got this new witness coming out. It's going to get very interesting here in the weeks ahead.
Peter, were you ever afraid for your life as you were investigating this, as you were writing the book?
Well, I'll just say this, Judge, in general terms, we do take and have taken security precautions. We do face in our organization cyber challenges on a regular basis. This is important stuff, and I think the more public it is, the better it is for everybody who's investigating it, whether that's the informant or whether that's other journalists who are pursuing this story.
Do you think that ultimately there will be justice in this case?
Look, I think there should be. And I think right now, we take this step by step. And I remember you and I sat down in New York and had lunch, and you walked me through the process of prosecution. It's a step by step. First thing we need to do is gather all the information without having one subpoena, without having looked at any of Hillary's emails, while not looking at any personal communications. We already have the transference of money, that money being hidden, not publicized by the Clintons that they received this money at the time the deal was being approved. And we have a witness, this foreign senior government official, and we now have this other informant. That's a lot of evidence without one subpoena, without any investigatory powers being used. So let's gather all the information and find out what happened.
All right, Peter, thanks so much.